Australian government lifts cap on international students for 2026. What you need to know. Australia's education sector is poised for a seismic shift as the Albanese government announces plans to boost international student enrollments by 9% in 2026. But here's the twist. This policy comes with a controversial stipulation that's already sparking heated debates. Universities, like the Australian National University, ANU, and the University of Canberra, are positioning themselves as top contenders by leveraging a key perk, exclusive student housing options. While this move promises greater stability for students, critics argue it might inadvertently create a competitive imbalance, favoring larger institutions with accommodation resources. The decision to remove national enrollment caps signals a major policy pivot, but the real story lies in the housing requirements. International students frequently face housing insecurity, often securing substandard rentals in cutthroat markets. By rewarding universities that provide housing, the government aims to address this challenge, but risks sidelining smaller institutions without accommodation infrastructure. This raises critical questions about equity and access. Is this shift a responsible response to student welfare, or does it risk concentrating educational opportunities at a handful of wealthier institutions? Proponents argue the policy creates a win-win scenario. Universities gain clarity on recruitment targets, while students secure better living conditions. Skeptics, however, point to potential unintended consequences, such as inflated housing prices for domestic students, or a new arms race among institutions to build expensive accommodations. The debate mirrors broader societal tensions between economic growth and equitable resource allocation. As enrollment barriers lift and universities refine their strategies, the race for global talent intensifies. Staying informed with premium news sources helps you navigate these evolving landscapes. But here's the elephant in the room. How will this 9% increase affect Australia's infrastructure? Will local schools and hospitals face new strains, or are these concerns overblown? The housing stipulation isn't just a practical solution, it's a game changer. Universities offering accommodations might see applications skyrocket as stability becomes a key differentiator. Meanwhile, institutions without housing options must devise alternative strategies to remain competitive. It's a high-stakes environment where adaptability could determine long-term success or marginalization. We're curious, do housing incentives represent a much-needed evolution in education policy, or could they squeeze out deserving students who value academic excellence over material perks? What safeguards should the government implement to ensure fair access for all applicants? Share your take below. The conversation is just beginning. Australia raises international student enrollment cap to 295K for 2026. A bold shift in Australia's international education policy is making waves. The government is boosting the cap for international student enrollments to 295,000 by 2026, a figure that, while higher than current numbers, remains 8% below the post-COVID high. This move is aimed at preserving the long-term sustainability of Australia's education system, even as it strives to remain a global leader in higher education. But here's where it gets controversial. Public universities can only increase their individual enrollment numbers if they demonstrate a stronger commitment to engaging with Southeast Asian countries and ensure they have adequate accommodation for all students on campus, both domestic and international. To give you a complete picture, the national planning level, which is currently set at 270,000 under Ministerial Direction 111, is slated to rise to 295,000 by 2026. One new significant change is that international students transitioning from Australian secondary schools to either publicly funded universities or affiliated pathway providers and TAFE institutions will no longer count towards this cap. This system, where different Australian institutions have a set limit on breaking Australia increases international student intake by 9%, Southeast Asian Focus explained. Australia is set to raise its cap on international student enrollments by a significant 9% in 2026, a decision that marks a major shift in the country's approach to foreign education. The federal government announced on Monday that the new cap will rise to 295,000, up from the current 270,000 limit set for 2025. This expansion is not just a numbers game. It's a strategic recalibration aimed at managing growth in the education sector while addressing the pressing issues of housing and infrastructure. Education Minister Jason Clare emphasized that this policy is about striking a delicate balance between supporting international students and ensuring that the growth of the education sector aligns with national interests. We're looking to grow international education in a way that benefits everyone involved, from the students and universities to the broader community, Clare explained. One of the most significant aspects of this policy is the prioritization of Southeast Asian applicants. This move is not just about numbers. It's about deepening Australia's diplomatic ties in the region and reducing economic reliance on China. International Education Assistant Minister Julian Hill explained that the surge in enrollments had created unsustainable pressures, with numbers growing out of control. To address this, the government has implemented tough measures, including doubling student visa fees in 2024 and introducing reforms to prevent continuous visa extensions. These changes have already shown promising results, enabling the system to accommodate a modest increase in student places for 2026. Of the 295,000 placements, about two-thirds will be allocated to the university sector, while the remaining one-third will be reserved for vocational education and training (VET) providers. But here's where it gets controversial. Larger public universities must now prove that international and domestic students have access to safe and secure housing in order to be eligible for higher enrollment limits. This requirement could significantly impact institutions that have struggled to provide adequate housing for their students, particularly those from Southeast Asia. Moreover, universities that recruit more students from this region will be considered favorably for expanded quotas, raising questions about fairness and diversity in admissions. Hill emphasized the importance of attracting students from Southeast Asia for long-term regional engagement. It's crucial for Australia's future soft power that we continue to bring the best and brightest from our neighbors to have a bit of Australia with them for the rest of their life, he said. Despite the potential controversies, the sector seems to be welcoming this measured expansion. Universities Australia, the peak body representing higher education institutions, supported the announcement, describing the increase as sensible. The impact of international education on Australia's economy cannot be overstated. In 2024, this sector contributed over AUD $51 billion, USD $33.05 billion, to the national economy, making it the country's leading services export. With nearly 600,000 student visas granted in the 2023 financial year, post-pandemic demand has surged. As the Australian government navigates this new chapter in its international education policy, one thing is clear. The decisions made now will shape the future of education, diplomacy, and economic growth in the region. Thought-provoking question. Do you think prioritizing Southeast Asian applicants is a wise move for Australia's long-term interests? Or does it risk creating an imbalance in the international student population? Share your thoughts in the comments below.